and welcome to this video. In this video, I have a guest. It's James Barker, and James is not like us, if I could say it like that. And that's not bad. It's good. He is a motocross rider, so he has only two wheels. And normally, when I'm talking, it's about four wheels. It's in the wheel racing world or it's in the sim world. But I've been working with James, and I think a racing driver, a sim driver, and a motocross rider, they have so much in common. And always also there's so many things that we don't have in common. But we can learn from each other, and that's why I have invited James. So James, I've been looking forward to today. So welcome.
Hi, my name's James Barker. I race motocross all across Europe, and I've been working for Tommy for about a year now.
And James, you have started your seasons already. And how had that been for you?
Really good. We had my first race on the 3rd of March, so 2 weekends ago now, and it was the Dutch season opener, which is an international race in Holland, and it went really well. It was a massive improvement on last year. Times were a lot better, positions were a lot better, and I felt a lot better. So yeah, I'm very happy with how the first race of the year went.
Great to hear. So the reason why you did better, I think that was because you had a good training and you have been doing a lot of stuff this winter for preparing yourself. And this is where I see the things that we are in common from four wheels to two wheels. We want to prepare ourselves so we can be the best driver as we can be. But here is the difference. You have prepared yourself on a different way. So can you please tell me, how did you prepare yourself over this winter?
It was quite a lot of preparation, really. A lot of fitness work. Yeah, loads and loads of hours training physically off the bike. But then a lot of hours on the bike as well. There was a lot of hours put in over in Spain and France and Holland, and a lot of hours with Tommy as well. So yeah, it was a lot more prepared coming into this year mentally and physically than last year. So yeah, I'm very happy with how everything's been going this pre-season.
I think we should try to make it in two parts. There's one thing that's the technique on the bike. Then there's the other thing that's your technique. That's all the mental things that you've been working on. So can you
Yeah.
how have you prepared yourself on the bike?
So on the bike, we've been going back to base, like building up a good strong base. So we've started off doing longer session training. So the races are 25 minutes plus 2 laps. My races are. So we've been doing 30-minute sessions, which are 2 laps equivalent to normally, like on a track, the lap times roughly around the 2 minutes area. So the races are always around 30 minutes. So we've been doing the 30-minute motos while I've been training, loads of sprint work to building up a really solid base, working on technique and body positioning, because I think that's such an important thing in today's racing. I think it's really taken over the sport, people's body positioning and how you stand on the bike. Yeah, and just going back to basics and really building a really, really good base level to work off.
And this your base level, I call it baseline.
Yeah.
Because my program is baseline driver training, but a great that you're talking about this. So the basic things that you're doing, is it on the bike or is it physical training outside?
It's a bit of both, really. I'd say it's about 50-50. So yeah, off the bike, we've been doing a lot of cycling, a lot of long distance cycling, keeping it in like zone 2 training. So like your heart rate zone 2, and we also measure when we're cycling off watts. So yeah, your watts are in the zone 2 for the power, and then a lot of strength training in the gym. Not too many weights, so you're like getting really big and muscly, but just so you're really strong. And that really helps. And when you do your long motos, when you're doing your 30 minutes, that does really help then on the bike, because you can keep going faster for longer.
For motocross, I think that's the hardest discipline motorsport, I think, because it's so physical. And because
Yeah, it's very, yeah.
you don't need big muscles. You need a muscle that are strained and then have a great for endurance racing. That's the same in go kart, in real racing, driving, and so on. And so it's working much better for you. So can you feel that you don't about your concentration because of your muscles, your cardio, and so on is much better. So which impact that have on your concentration?
Yeah, it has a massive impact on your concentration, because when you're a lot more physically prepared for the day, and when you're doing long days out in Spain and long days training, towards the end of the days, you're going to get tired. Everyone will get tired, but it's just how long you can stay focused for really does matter, because if you start to feel tired and lose concentration, then one small mistake can just set you back for months and months, because one small crash can just ruin your season. So it's so important to be really fit, so then when you do go out on the track and when you are training and you are doing really long hard days, that you're always 100% concentrated, because you're the fittest you can possibly be.
And about I will take it over now for to this concentration. So do you think it's only about your physical statement that have an impact on your concentration, or is there other things also that can take your concentration away and go back again so you can be focused and so?
Yeah, it's not all about being physically fit. You have to be extremely fit, but you also have to be well trained in the mind. You have to not let anything get into your head and make that the main focus of them when you're riding. So if there's something gone wrong with your bike, you can't let your focus change onto something that's gone wrong on your bike. You have to always keep that focus on you and where you're going on the track. Pretty much, you can't let your thoughts wander. You have to really keep focused and train yourself to always just focus on yourself and nothing else.
You said something that I think that was a really good word. Something that said mentally work. I think you said something like that.
Yeah, mentally strong.
Oh, there's something about work, but that's okay.
Oh
But
yeah,
it was just a great word that you just said there. And when
yeah,
I'm going back into this video and see it again, I will take this word out and then I think I will use it because it was really really great.
yeah,
You are just saying here you can't let your thought wandering. But hey, that's the nature of the thoughts. Our thoughts are wandering. They don't want to sit here and say, okay, now James, you need to be focused only on this. If your thoughts are
yeah,
finding something else that the things it's interesting when you're jumping over a hill or something, and then you can see over there, he's faster than me, the other driver.
yeah.
So what do you do about that? That's nature. So even if you have a good, you're in good physical shape and everything, you can't. Nobody can take this away from you. So what do you do to come back again? The zone.
Yeah, it's very hard to wander. It's yes, it's so easily done. Especially when you're practicing, because when you're doing them long sessions and you're out there with loads of other people, and your thoughts are always on yourself, and it's so easy for your mind just to wander and just completely change thought on what you're doing. So it's just, you have to really train yourself and find the best ways for yourself to deal with them, because I don't think what one thing might work for somebody, then I don't think it'll work for somebody else. I think it's all quite personal, but I always just try and remind myself to refocus. And one thing I always work on is when my mind starts to wander, the first thing I go back to is my body positioning, and then that means you're in the safest way then to go faster and get back to the speed that you should be travelling at. Because if your body position isn't right and you're trying to travel at them fast speeds, then it puts you at a much higher risk of, when the track's rough, to throw you off the bike or to make more mistakes. And also, when your body position isn't correct and your bike isn't working in the best possible way, as your suspension will start to feel not very good, and the bike will start to feel like it's not working to the best that it can do.
This is what you have a strategy. Your strategy and the mental part here is that you are refocusing what you want to do. Then your anchor is your body position. So when you know how to sit on the bike and you have that correctly, then you can start working again.
Yeah,
And I think also, if you take this over to racing drivers, it's the same. They're overdriving the car. We have talked about that also. You can also overdrive your bike, because suddenly
yeah,
you want to do it much more, and then you're overdriving, or you're doing mistakes. So having a mental strategy, say, hey, okay, I need to focus on this or this. Having a kind of a game plan. Is that correct? Understand that what you're doing?
yeah, definitely. You always have to go back to the game plan and not move off from that, because if you start to drift and then you start to get into like a dangerous path and like a slippery slope, and it'll soon go downhill, because then you start to overdrive the bike and override it, and then before you know it, it's very hard to get out of that when you're racing it, because the time goes so quick when you're racing. When you're overriding the bike, it is so hard to go from overriding it to not overriding it to back to where you should be. So the sooner you realise you're starting to drift, like your mind's starting to drift and wander away, the better really, because then you can control it before it gets any worse.
How have you been working on getting this registered? Registrate that you are wondering, that you are overdriving, because if you aren't registered, then you can't do anything about it. So you need to be aware of it first. So how have your awareness on this side? How did you realize it? If I can say it like this.
Yeah, in my first race that I did 2 weekends ago in Holland, my plan was to go out, and the track's very, very rough. It's the roughest track in the world. It's one of the hardest races in the world. And it's very hard to race the track. You have to just ride the track and really respect it. And my plan was just to go out and just be as consistent as possible and focus on yourself, and just consistently just tick the laps off and just tick the laps off. And I found myself about halfway in, I could feel like I was being really consistent. So I just got into like this flow, and I was still really focused on the track, but I started to zone out a little bit because I was so consistent. I was doing the same thing every single lap, so it just like got really repetitive. And as soon as I came offline, so I've been using the same lines on the track for the first 15 minutes. And as soon as I had to come off the line, I was still in the mindset of what I was before. And I wasn't used to it, and I wasn't fully focused. And I made like a small mistake. I didn't crash, but I just made a mistake, which probably cost me about half a second in the lap time. And that's when I had to registrate that I need to wake up and I need to start thinking more, because that track gets so rough and you have to change your lines. But I was just following the same line, and I just got used to it. And as soon as I had to switch, it threw me off, and I had to really refocus because it sort of like woke me back up again. I just say to myself, look, I just say, you need to wake up. I sort of like speak to myself, and then I like wake up, and then I start to work my body positioning again, and then start to work on the track and find the smoothest line possible.
You have been using that a lot. This inner dialogue with yourself. Wake up is
Yeah,
a good word for you to be aware to come back again into the
yeah,
working zone. Yeah.
yeah. It's been working for me, that word. I don't know. I don't know why I chose that word. I think it just the first one that came to me. But yeah, it is definitely working for me.
And this is what I will say. This is where people are different. People can say a lot of different
Mm.
words, but it is a kind of a wake up call for you. So hey, go back to
Yeah,
focus. I think great, it's working for you. So
yeah,
keep in that. And then you're saying about this body position and so. And this is where we have also something in common. You have with your body position. You're working a lot with the weight transferring on the bike, so you get the grip to the front wheel or to the rear, so you can accelerate out of the corner or braking correctly and so on. But
yeah,
with the body in the racing car, you also try the go kart. I know that you text me a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
because you can't you can also use the body there, but not as you're used to. But you still
yeah.
need to have the grip, so you're using the movement of the car instead of making that weight. But how does it affect your riding when when you are using your body the wrong way?
Um, it's such a massive thing. The way you sit on the bike and the way you stand on the bike. You don't have like the seat is not like massive. I'd say it's probably about 60, 70 centimeters, I'd say. So you've got all that room to play with, but to find the most grip, it's sometimes quite hard. So when you don't have much traction, you really want to sit on the back of the bike, on the back of the seat. So then it puts more weight on the rear tire. So then you get as much traction as possible. But then if you sit at the front of the bike, then there's more weight on the front of the front wheel instead of the rear wheel. And then when you come to put the power on, coming out of a corner, then you won't have as much traction. You'll just start skidding. So yeah, it's really important. But sometimes it's really hard to find the best place to sit. And sometimes when you're getting tired towards the end of the sessions, sometimes you just go into sort of like autopilot, and then you just start sitting in the most comfy spot, really, wherever you feel the most comfiest. And always, it's not the best place to sit.
Exactly. And you can work with the setup on your bikes with the shock absorbers, the spring, and so on. But
Mm.
if you aren't there, if you're sitting on the wrong position on the bike, how about the setup on the bike? What does that change? Does it change? Does it do
Yeah,
anything good for you then?
yeah, it's really hard to explain to someone that hasn't experienced it. But
I think, James, I think we can really take that over
yeah,
because we have in a racing car or in a sim, you're also working with that. So I think
mm.
we can understand it.
So to start off with, say you start off in the race and everything feels good. The bike setup feels good. Um, everything feels good. And then sort of towards the end of the race, you're thinking, oh, my suspension feels like this. Oh, my tyres feel like this. And then you automatically just presume it's the bike. And you just think, oh, the tyres must be getting like the tires must be really worn out. You must think, oh, the suspension's getting too hot and it's bouncing too fast. It's kicking me too much. But you never automatically just blame yourself, which is the case most of the time. Normally, your suspension and your tires are completely fine, but you always just blame your bikes. I think it's the easiest thing to do, and not to blame yourself. But half the time, if you have to think, and you think your body position from the start of the race to the end of the race, how much difference that is, and if you're sat down over all the bumps, of course it's going to make you feel like your suspension's not working properly when you've got 70 kilos sat just slopped on the top of your bike and you're just like not working with the bike. Of course it's not going to feel very nice. And when you're sat on the front of the bike when you should be sat towards the rear of the bike, of course you're not going to have much traction because you sat in the wrong position. So you always have to go back to the basics and go back to your body position, because it's such an important thing. It makes your suspension work better. It makes you have more traction. It's such a big thing nowadays. It's the way forward. Your body position. It's one of the most important things.
Yes, it is. And of course, if you're sitting in a racing car, then you can't use your body position. But still,
Mm.
when you are thinking that it is the bike, it is the suspension, whatever it is, then you're not taking this responsibility to yourself. Then you just blame it to other things. But still,
Yeah,
the things, all the signal, the muscles and so on are being more stiff or being slower, and we're all using that. So I think that was a good way to explain it.
yeah,
And I have been working with speedway riders also, and they are talking a lot about it's the setup. It's the setup on the bike. But every time you are a rider, you are sitting up on the bike. So when you're sitting up on the bike, you're changing the setup on the bike. If you aren't sitting on the right
mm.
way,
Yeah,
so if we can start here up, thinking here up, okay, I'm a part of the setup. How can I uh, make it work better? Because also the tires are getting warmer and so on. So everything is changing. Your track is especially changing every round you're driving. So
yeah, definitely. And there's only so good the suspension can be, and then the rest is up to you. There's like, say if you're even on the, say if you've got the best suspension in the world, you've got the best engine in the world, you've got the best tires in the world, you're on the best bike possible, and you've got bad body positioning, you sat in the wrong positions, and you're sitting down through bumps, even the best bike in the world is going to feel terrible. So yeah, it is part to do with the bike, and it's also a massive part to do with yourself. So yeah, it's hard to, and it's also really hard to blame yourself and put criticism on yourself as well when you've done bad and when nothing feels good.
what is the difficult part about that? Why is it difficult?
Um, because I think it's because it's so easy just to blame your bike, because you can just say, "Oh, the bike's this, the bike's that," um, but to actually say, "Oh, well, I was sat down there when I should have been stood up," "Oh, well, I should have been, my elbow should have been higher here, I should have been stood on my balls, my feet here instead of my heels." It's so easy to blame your bike. It's just a machine instead of your body, because your bike doesn't have feelings. But when you start blaming your body, you'll start to feel, yeah, you won't feel very good, I don't think.
Exactly. That's why it's difficult, and it's always. This is also if you ever been, you always have been used to say, okay, it's not my fault, it's the other faults. Then you will
Yeah,
you will have this pathway to go to. So you need to change your way of working, and we have been working with the mindset about open mindset, development mindset compared to word right now.
closed mindset,
Closed mindset or fixed mindset, like
fixed mindset. Yeah.
yes. So this is also a big thing.
Mm.
Um, what is the most important thing you have learned over the last year? Biggest would have given you the most.
I've learnt so much. The most important thing, it's quite hard to put to think of one.
We want to have 3 options.
Yeah, I'll have 3 options. I'd say number 1, they're not in any order, but number 1, controlling my nerves. That's definitely been one of the biggest things. Controlling my nerves when I'm like nervous. Just think of it as you're excited, and that's massively helped. Number 2 is focusing on yourself and not comparing yourself to other people, just comparing yourself to yourself. So as in like comparing yourself to, like, I don't know how to word it, but comparing yourself to how you was, say, a year ago, instead of comparing yourself to somebody else. You have to always think about how you're progressing and not how other people are progressing, because you don't know how other people are going through stuff. So you always have to just think, oh, how have I improved over this last year? How have I improved since last time I rode this track? And number 3 would be it's hard to think when there's so many options.
And that's also a mental thing to say, okay, I need to choose. I have to
Yeah.
choose the right thing now. Right now you are, oh, what shall I do? What shall
Yeah.
I do? But you are,
I'd say being able to refocus. Yeah, that would be it. Yeah, being able to refocus. So as we were speaking about earlier, the when you lose concentration, and being able to refocus a lot quicker than I have been able to do in the past, that's been a massive help. I've really been working on that over in Spain. When you've been training, when you're training, there's so much going on around you. When you're training with some of the fastest people in the world, and there's people flying around the track everywhere, and it's so hard to lose focus and start thinking about everyone else, but to really just focus on yourself and not let anyone else bother you. That's that's been a massive help.
and you had a really good experience back in Spain. I remember you told me when you were going out to work on your basic driving skills, and then suddenly there was a young guy coming and overtaking you. Happened.
Yeah, I was out in Spain, and we was training. The track is like one of them tracks where everyone's sort of very close in lap times. It's not like a track where someone would be 10 seconds quicker than you. It's sort of like where everyone's within like 5 seconds, whether you're a very, very good rider or whether you're like quite a good rider. Everyone's very similar. And there was this, and our motocross coach, Brian Jorgensen, we was doing some drills that day, and it was just really focusing on body positioning, where to sit down on the seat to gain traction, as the track's very, very slippy and very dry and hard, so you can lose traction so easily. And was working on that, and also working on not using your brakes as much, so really flowing through the corners instead of having to brake, then accelerate really fast and then lose traction. So just keep your rolling speed. And halfway through our session, I can just hear because I'm on a 254 stroke and the 125, but you can always hear the 125s everywhere because it's like such a unique sound. And I heard one of them come behind me, and I sort of like, not panicking for a second, but sort of like thinking things through. And then next minute, he passes me, and then I'm just sat following for a lap, and I'm just thinking he's not actually doing anything that we've been told to do. He's just on the back brake everywhere, skidding, braking really hard, and accelerating really hard, and it was going faster. But I knew I could have gone faster, but I had to really refocus and think I want the most out of today, and I want to really work on what I've been told to do, and yeah, try and learn new skills on the bike. And it was really hard for me at first to do that. The first couple of laps, seeing him in front of me, because I could have easily passed him straight away, but to just sit back and do your own thing was, yeah, it was quite hard. But I don't think a year ago I'd have been able to do that, but now I can, yeah, do it a lot more easily.
And I think this is, you are not the only one struggling with that. I can guarantee you that, because I think this is a
Yeah,
really, really difficult thing. And and when we are racing in the sim or in the real world, we have a lap time. You're also working with at the lap time, but here
yeah,
it's much more. We are much more on the lap time because we are
yeah,
such a small area working there.
mm,
And you're focusing and want to go faster instead of want to learn to do the right things. Because when you can do the right things, have the right positioning, also braking on the right way, rolling more through the corner with a higher minimum speed and so on, it's the same thing we're working with. So when you can do that and really learn to mastering that, then you will be in the end be much better.
yeah,
And then you're looking for the long-term goal. But you were just focusing here on the
yeah,
short-term goal and say, I want to be fast now instead of learning the thing. So
yeah,
this is a really good explanation on how you need to focus on yourself and the things that you're doing. Nobody else. Great.
yeah, definitely.
James, I think we have been talking about a lot of things, and we can talk, yeah, do that all the time. So we can
Yeah,
put much more into this, and hopefully we will do that another day. Um, like when you can come back in another episode, and we can talk about other stuff. So I will
yeah,
just,
definitely.
I hope that people learn something here and can see how the transition can go from two wheels to four wheels, also back again. So there's a lot of connection there. So how we can learn from each other instead of just thinking that we need to do everything at home. So thank you a lot for this.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tommy. It's been a pleasure.
Great, and good luck. Good luck. And for you, if you like this video, please give it a like and hit the subscribe button if you like this, so you can see even more videos. Thank you for this time. Good luck with your own development.